Hey, how's it going, folks? It's Abdullah.
And Bean.
And
Happy 420!
That's right. It is Weed Christmas up in the house, and your favorite weed podcast is celebrating in kind. We are so stoked for this holiday. Bean, how are you feeling this 420?
I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling fired up. I'm feeling like this story that we're going to drop today is going to inspire a lot of people. This 420, I'm going to actually be in New York City, a place where I was arrested for smoking weed, a place where I was handcuffed and put in the police car, not comparing it to the many people I know who did time. But now I'm going to go back with a friend of mine to the exact place where we got busted smoking weed, and we are going to light one up on the street, and it's perfectly legal to do that now.
So if you heard last week's episode, you now know the history of 420 itself. If you have not, please go check it out. It's a rebroadcast of our famous Waldo's episode that tells you about the origin story of 420. But for today, the day in question, 420, we have a very special episode that we recorded live in front of a studio audience at Green Street in Los Angeles. This was a fantastic night. It was our first live show post-pandemic. Of course, we've done a couple before. You might have heard them. Our one with Ben Sinclair at the Brooklyn Podcast Festival. Our one about the Summer of the Cans up at Savage Henry. And this one right here was all about one of the most famous names in cannabis, probably the most famous name in modern cannabis. And it was a really good time. The person in question, our subject, his son was actually in the room, and he really loved the episode, which was very, very special and heartening for Bean and I to hear from him, because he felt like we did his dad justice, and that is just so special to us. Green Street has become a hub for the cannabis community in Los Angeles, and we were just so proud and honored to have this event there with all our weed friends. Isn't that right, Bean?
Recording this podcast with you and sharing it with all the people who care about it is one of the best things in my life, and then to add the layer of a whole room full of people who we invited, who we know really care about cannabis. We were able to tell them a story and take that ride with them in the room. Got some really great laughs and a lot of nice comments after. And, this is something that we want to do a lot more of in the future. We want to tour with this show. We want to bring great moments in weed history to where you live. And I got to say, the best way you can do that is to support us on Patreon. You can go to greatmomentsinweedhistory.com. We're still in this weedathon. It is the last day of the weedathon, and we are still trying to get to 420 supporters. You could be one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate the support. Your support on Patreon allows us to continue making the show the way we love to do it, independently, at the click we like to do it on a weekly basis, as we have started doing in 2022. So if you have not checked us out, please go to greatmomentsinweedhistory.com. Check out all the bonuses you can get by supporting us on Patreon. And if you don't have the ducats, please help us out by spreading the word. Tell a few of your friends about Great Moments in Weed History. Send them a link to an episode that they might like. And we also want to give a massive thank you to our sponsors for this live episode. High 90s, purveyors of high quality cannabis, inspired by our favorite strains of the 90s. And of course, their Gelato 33 is one of our favorites. Please check them out. You can find them in dispensaries in California. Podtones, our favorite vaporizer filled with 100% pure live rosin, no solvents ever, just pressed hash, absolutely terpy and delicious on the go in a very convenient and stealthy device that comes in 4 different flavors that'll pretty much cover any time of day or night. Big Pete's Treats, our old friend up north, Big Pete, one of the best edible makers in the entire world. We've had the pleasure of shooting with him, of smoking with him, hanging out, and enjoying his treats. These are truly delicious cookies that will rock you, I can tell you from personal experience. And finally, a Hashinista-powered mocktail bar featuring Heavy Hitters Tincture. That's right, Heavy Hitters has come out with something called the Heavy, which is a high-end cannabis drink that is like the weed version of excellent scotch. This is really the classy shit that you break out at the end of the night when you're trying to blow some heads. It comes in a beautiful bottle, and the stuff tastes delicious. It's no alcohol, it's lots of cannabis, and it gets you lit really, really quick. So next time you're celebrating, instead of popping a bottle of champagne or cracking open a bottle of scotch, pour yourself some Heavy. Cheers.
I'll drink to that, my friend, and I think I'll smoke to it too, because it is our highest of holidays. It is not just Weedness Day, but the grandest Weedness Day of them all, 420. Happy 420 to you, my friend.
Happy 420 to you as well, man. Glad that we are doing our fourth 420 on Great Moments in Weed History right now. I can't believe we've been rocking for that long, but I never want to stop.
Well, actually, careful listeners to this episode will note that we have committed to making this podcast for many more decades, actually.
I don't remember making that campaign promise, but you know what? We got to stick to it. We are men of our words. So as we re-listen to the promises made in this podcast, we want you to know we're going to do our best to fulfill those.
Yeah, I didn't remember it till the listen back.
As is always the case. So smoke them if you got them, my friends. We're about to delve in to a really wonderful and truly epic figure in cannabis history.
All right, no pausing this time. It's 420, so we know you got something rolled up. We know you got a joint ready to blaze. We know you got a bowl packed. We know you got a bong packed. And we know the endabulator is doing that like 5 flash and then 2 quick flashes and then 1 long flash. That means it's ready or something.
Yeah, mine has been blinking SOS to me for the last 2 hours. I think it's become self-aware and wants to be set free. But you know what, buddy? On 421... you will have your freedom. I just need you for the rest of the day.
So you're literally saying your endabulator has got 1 more day till retirement, and it's 420. This could be the first, classic 420 movie plot.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, no, my vaporizer has been restoring a boat for the last few years in preparation for retirement. It's called the Live Forever.
Yeah, I got faxed a picture of it.
Mendoza!
All right, well, let's kick off this 420 by blazing one for the self-aware vaporizer. For all you listeners, and for you, my friend, happy 420.
Happy 420! Hey, how's it going, folks? It's Abdullah.
And Bean.
And welcome to a live episode of Great Moments in Weed History at Green Street. On this show, my partner Bean and I talk about a great moment from the long history of cannabis. Isn't that right, Bean?
Oh, that is exactly what we do. 10,000 years of human cannabis interaction. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
I don't know what this story is going to be. Bean's going to tell it to you and tell it to me at the same time. We're going to have a chat about it. We're going to smoke some weed. Shout out High 90s. Shout out Pod Tones. Shout out
Big Pete's Treats.
And
Hashinista putting together a beautiful little mocktail bar for us featuring some Heavy Hitters tinctures. I hope you all hit for the cycle and got all 4. I did.
Yeah, is everybody prepared mentally and psychedelically for this?
Let me tell you a little bit about the story for tonight.
Okay.
It's going to be some clues sprinkled throughout, so pay attention. Some of our episodes are about famous people who famously love weed. I'm thinking Willie Nelson smoked a joint on the roof of the White House. Peter Tosh recorded Legalize It. Cheech and Chong made Up in Smoke.
Right.
Some of our episodes are about famous people you didn't even know. Well, I'm not. Maybe you did. but most people didn't even know had an incredible weed story. I'm thinking Maya Angelou. I'm thinking Louisa May Alcott. I'm thinking Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas.
Yeah.
All right, we got a very hip audience.
Yeah. I'm also thinking Barack Obama.
True that. Anybody from the Choom Gang here? We didn't get an RSVP, but maybe they slid
no
in.
No ambassadors from the Choom Gang? No, maybe not here tonight.
And some of our stories are about people who are weed famous, like our own cultural heroes. Thinking Dennis Perone, thinking Brownie Mary, thinking the Pope of Pot. Here comes the first hint. Don't shout it out if you get the hint. This story is about someone who is literally weed famous.
So I know you're a fan of a pun, so I'm detecting a pun in there. Somebody who's weed famous, meaning like they're famous for being weed?
I'm just going to let that sit for a second. Let that percolate in the bottom of your bong.
I just smoked like an entire pod tone in one sucking. And now I got to figure out this pun mystery. Oh, okay, can you give me some more hints?
Of course.
All right.
But they're going to be little misdirection hints.
Yeah, okay. I'm ready.
This is the story of someone who was once a right-wing Republican who hated hippies and weed smokers.
What? It's not Dana Rohrabacher, is it?
This is also somebody who, in a time long before the internet, espoused a wild conspiracy theory to literally anybody who would listen.
Who are we talking about? We talking about Jack Harrer?
Rhymes with terror.
Oh, no shit. Whoa, crazy. We're doing the story of Jack Harrer.
We're doing the story of Jack Harrer. And he's from right here in Los Angeles. He is your hometown champion, Los Angelites, Los Angelinos, Los Angelaners, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Oh my God, that is incredible. All right, so I'm glad I wasn't tipped off by the most obvious clue, which is that Dan Harrer, the son of Jack Harrer, is in the house tonight. Give it up for Dan Harrer. Where's he at? Yeah, man. That is so fucking crazy. Okay, so this is one of the most well-known names in cannabis, right? Even if you're a regular old person, I'm sure most of you have heard of Jack Harrer, right? Who's heard of Jack Harrer in here? Okay. So most people associate him with a strain of cannabis, a really tasty, punchy, creamy strain of cannabis.
Hence being literally weed famous.
Literally weed famous. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I am up to speed now. And, I'm really fascinated by this story. Of course, I'm familiar with The Emperor Has No Clothes, but I'm not super clear on his life story, and I'm just really excited to be learning it. So fuck yes, Bean. Fuck
all
yes.
right, I think we have all the elements except one. There is something we like to do before we start an episode.
Yeah, we like to smoke some weed.
and vape some rosin. And this is the point in the podcast where I tell our listeners, if you're not quite rolled up yet, you can hit pause, you can roll a joint, you can split a blunt, you can pack a bong, you can endabulate a dab. If you're here live, just go for it.
Literally at any time, just go for it. Don't stop yourself. All right, don't hesitate. Just get higher and higher as we spin the web, as it were.
Because when you're ready,
we'll be ready
for another moment in weed history. This is the beat from a song about weed from the 1940s. Fats Waller.
Yeah, that's right. If I were a viper. If I were a viper?
When
you're a viper.
When we're both vipers.
When you're a viper. Everybody here is a viper tonight. All right, guys. You ready for this shit? Yeah.
All right. The hero of today's great moment in weed history, and I would say many great moments in weed history, was born in New York City in 1939, the son of a bill collector.
Oh, wow. Like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
At 17, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and served as a military police officer in the waning days of the Korean War.
Wow. Okay, so this is like MASH. I'm picturing MASH here, right? Korean War, and so he fought in the Korean War. Did he see action?
I don't believe so, but what I'm shocked by is like this is the squarest origin story of anybody who we have celebrated. You were in the military and a cop, and
yeah. Congratulations. Lester Grinspoon, you're no longer the nerdiest origin story from our show. You have been replaced by none other than Jack Harrer, Rhymes with Terror.
Rhymes with Terror for sure. And he said this is where he was coming from. Quote, I believed America was always the good guy, always the most decent, right-on people on earth.
Yes, of course. Yes, you all believe that, right?
This isn't a public school. We can say whatever we want.
Oh, we forgot to do the Pledge of Allegiance before we started. Shit.
I pledge allegiance to Jack Herrera.
Green Lives Matter. That's our flag.
So, after the military, he lands a job as an electronic sign repair technician in California. He gets married. He has 3 children. And this is 1964. He is straight up a Barry Goldwater for president guy.
Wow.
Who is...
Wait, who's clapping?
Barry?
Who just, like, very enthusiastically applauded Barry Goldwater republicanism. You know what? It's cool. All are welcome. All are welcome, I guess.
Sure. And he is cheering on our military adventures in Vietnam.
Yeah. You know what they say about electronic signs? Like, they break a lot, man. It's a great line of business. Great line of business for him to be in.
He's part of Big Sign, definitely. But at age 30, he gets a divorce, and he's trying to navigate the dating scene of 1969. That's when a new girlfriend asked him a fateful question.
You party, man? You get down? You cool, man? He was one of those.
I think all of them, probably. Actually, probably all of them, because the first 3 times, he's, a single gentleman, trying to go in the parlance of the times.
A young bachelor on the prowl.
Yes, but he pulls a Bill Clinton the first 3 times.
He
Not that
on her
one.
dress?
No, he does not inhale. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, and sometimes it's a blunt. Don't think too hard about that one.
And pulling Bill Clinton. I should have thought about the context.
I feel that was phrased poorly in retrospect. No, he did not inhale. Now, going back to an early episode of our show, another weed legend to be had this same problem. Do you remember?
Who was not inhaling or wasn't getting high the first couple times?
Smoking, but not holding it in and not getting high.
Was it Willie Nelson?
It was.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson for 6 months smoked weed wrong.
If it can happen to him, it can happen to you people. It can happen to anybody, all right? That's rough.
I think he figured it out, though.
Yeah, eventually he figured it out.
As did Jack Harrer, Rhymes with Terror.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so at this point, he's sort of like faking it because he likes this girl and he's not, he's just like playing the part. He's still the Barry Goldwater war vet.
I'd say he's in a transitional phase, as they say.
Yeah.
And then she brought home an ounce of Acapulco Gold.
Oh.
Are we getting less applause for Acapulco Gold than for Barry Goldwater? That's how I know it's young heads in here. And no, I'm not that old. I didn't smoke Acapulco Gold in 1969.
But yeah, this is like legendary weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I feel like this story is going to be rife with the names of, references to legendary strains, right? And here we are. It's another one, Acapulco Gold, which is from Acapulco.
And what color?
Goldish.
These are the sativa strains of the pre-homegrown era when weed was still coming in from places that were warm, like Mexico, the Caribbean, South America. Really, really uplifting. And Jack Herer, rhymes with terror, he got really high. He said, I was feeling sensations that I didn't even know a human being could experience, including the best sex of my life.
Yeah, I mean, stoned sex is better sex, people. Come on. Everybody knows it. Anybody who's tried it realizes this. You know what I'm saying?
And so now picture that post-coital Big Lebowski scene when they're in bed and he's got the little roach and Jack...
Chicago 7, it was me and 6 other guys.
As he's laying back in post-coital bliss and he has an overpowering thought that will define the rest of his life.
I know I dared you to say post-coital bliss 6 times in this episode. I can't believe how well you're doing.
Shout out to our sponsors, Post-coital bliss.
That feeling you get. So anyway, post-coital bliss.
Well, coitus. He has this eureka moment. This question comes to him. Why is this illegal?
Oh my God, that question has dawned on all of us from one time or another. You're like, this seems way too awesome to be illegal, and then you realize that grown-ups purposely make awesome things illegal. That's the way the world works.
And so from this moment on, we have now left Barry Goldwater, Jack Herer behind. He is in the ashtray.
I could have swore that guy was going to boo now that Barry Goldwater's out of the picture.
He walked. We walked one person. He, from then on, smokes 4 joints a day, and he begins to campaign tirelessly for legalization.
Wow, what a fucking transformation! And the superhero we know as Jack Herer, rhymes with terror, is born right there. You know, I think it's so crazy that, like, the further back we go, you know, the more you realize how ingrained in society prohibition was, right? Because, you guys still laughing about the last thing? I know, right? You know, because it was so pervasive that you could be a person who's totally, you know, like attuned to cannabis, and yet you would never know because everyone's told you, like, oh yeah, that shit will like make your eyes pop out of their sockets. You know what I mean? And you'll jitter around a bunch and then you'll die. You know, even Willie Nelson was like, oh, that's like devil weed, until somebody was like, no, seriously, you should try this.
And this is like one of weed's greatest triumphs, you know, to take somebody that square and turn them that 180. You know, How many people had their lives transformed by weed? Right? We're right with you.
Yes.
So first thing he does, very close to our hearts, is he authors a satiric weed-themed coloring book for adults called Great American Standard System. There's a pun in there.
Oh, it's GRASS, right?
Yes.
It's an acronym?
Yes.
Oh.
It's a punacronym.
It's a canabronym. All right, that one's retired. Bean got a weed pun in, everybody. We all heard it. It's being retired. One use only. That was a pretty good one, though. So this was a coloring book?
Like for adults. Let's.
So like a coloring book with penises in it?
If that's what adult coloring book means. I can't say there's no penises in there. So the book is sold in underground bookstores around LA. This is like very DIY. This is very almost pre-zines. And GRASS included, quote, the official guide for assessing the quality of marijuana on the 1 to 10 scale.
Whoa. And so this is weed quality and not highness we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, this is like the weed maps or the Leafly of the day.
This
it's
is
the
the
system.
The absolute beginning. It is the Yelp or whatever you want to say. It's like the fucking rating system. You know, which some would say it's reductive, but I think it's extremely fucking useful, to tell you the truth. Because if you can just tell me that I'm about to, you know, pay less for 6 weed, like, I would trust you more often. You know what I mean?
And as you like to say, 6 is the minimum for weed. It's weed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, of course. This scale only goes from 8.5 to 10 because even the worst weed is still weed. You know what I mean?
The worst weed is 8.5 better than no weed.
Yeah.
So he's going around LA, Jack Herrer, rhymes with terror, and he's selling his book at like signing events, and he's also selling these bongs that he's making, and people are coming up to him and being like, man, did you know this about weed?
That's how everybody talked back then, right?
Everybody on this podcast. Pretty much that was the hello of its era, I think.
Yeah, totally.
The era of the really long...
Yeah, it's like, hey, what's up? Up above, down below.
So he's getting, there's no internet. So he's getting the internet is people coming up to you to tell you things about weed in person, and he's getting what will become some of the greatest hits. George Washington grew hemp.
Oh, wow. And so this is crazy because, I mean, of course, okay, guys, what movie did you learn that from, that George Washington grows hemp? Does anyone know it? It's Dazed and Confused. Come on, of course, because that's Slater, the guy we were all compared to in high school, not just me.
Who was the Slater of their high school?
Let's hear it. Where are the Slaters at? Come on, you're such a Slater, man. You're a total Slater, bro.
So some other info coming out.
He's like, no, I'm a Randall Pink Floyd, like years later. Be proud. Be proud of being a Slater. All right, anyways, sorry.
So he's hearing jazz musicians wrote songs about weed back in the 30s. The riggings and sails of the U.S. Constitution battleship were made of hemp fiber. The Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were written on hemp paper. Like, we all heard this at 3 a.m, like either behind the Tasty Freeze or in a college dorm.
Yeah, and it's all true. I mean, this is all like verified. So, it's funny to think that these are like, it sounds really conspiratorial, the way you're talking about it. Like, sounds like you're like, there's pizza and a cabal or whatever. But no, this shit is true, man. The Constitution is printed on fucking weed paper.
Absolutely.
Son of a bitch.
And not to blow anybody's mind, but it's also a medicine that can save your life, it turns out.
Yeah. Seriously.
Just to throw one more in the pile of
positives.
So this sets him off on, the first book is kind of like a fun, coloring book full of penises and weed. But this experience sets him off on a deep dive into the hidden history of cannabis.
Whoa. And at this point, it's probably pretty hidden, right? I mean, like, where is he even finding information on this? I know a lot of people now look to his work, right? But like at this point, you can't go to the library and like check out books on the history. Be like, well, how is he finding this shit?
He's like scouring research libraries. He's getting old newsreels. He is, a real historian. He's a people's historian. I think he's the Howard Zinn of weed in a way. The other thing he discovers is everything he's been taught about it is all part of a racist, capitalistic propaganda campaign.
But yeah, okay, gotcha. So he's being green pilled, essentially.
Yes.
He's going down the fucking rabbit hole. He's learning all this shit. Like, this is the stuff that, when we first smoke weed and think, why the fuck is this illegal, right? And then you start finding out why it's illegal. It only becomes more infuriating. And I feel like you only want to take it on as a cause more, right?
He's like got this other side, though. He's a full-fledged hippie now. He is clearly against the man. But he really believes in this, not to date the show, but this American democracy. Like, he believes it's a good thing built to last. And so one of his first initiatives, and he's still a military guy, he starts reaching out to unhoused Vietnam veterans all over Los Angeles, explaining the medical benefits of cannabis and helping to organize them to register people to vote and to run sort of different initiatives and candidates locally here in Los Angeles.
Whoa. Okay, so he's incredibly active. At this point, there's not only this sort of internal journey of discovery, but he's externalizing a lot of this. He's organizing. And this is pre-normal? Is this like what's the movement look like?
This is around the same time that Normal started. 69 was that fateful hit of Acapulco Gold.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So this is in the 70s. So it's in the ether. And now he's wearing a poncho. He's in a poncho.
Here's where he's beyond poncho. He opens up a hemp shop in Venice Beach. And he sets up a stand on the boardwalk, and he is just out there preaching the gospel of weed literally to every person who passes by.
Oh my God.
Has anyone here had that experience? Did anybody walk down the boardwalk in Venice Beach and run into this man?
That's how I found Christ. It happened 2 weeks ago.
And it is also how he met a gentleman named Captain Ed Adair, who was manager and part owner of Heads and Highs, basically the proto head shop of the mall. And they made a pledge to each other, these two weed warriors. They said, we're going to make a vow to fight for legalization every day until one of two things. Either prohibition ends everywhere, or we turn 84.
They gave themselves like a couple years at the end of their lives to just enjoy. Because if you smoke weed every day, you're definitely going to live till 84. You're pickled. That's it.
I would like to say, you want to make a pledge, we'll do this shit till we're 84 or prohibition ends everywhere?
Yes, down. You saw it here, people. You are the witnesses to this pact.
And will you all, within the sound of my voice here and on our podcast, just make a pledge once a week you'll do something to make the world a weedier place?
Yeah. I'll get behind that.
All right, so as one does, he assembles a crew. They are called the Reefer Raiders. And he begins organizing sit-ins at the LA Federal Building.
Oh, amazing. Okay, and they're basically out there like saying end prohibition, decriminalize, legalize, let all the prisoners out, right? And there's like no fucking chance that's happening in 1970, whatever.
And they've got the tri-cornered hats on. They're like referencing the Revolutionary Era, the first one and the good one, arguably.
Not the
Forgive me,
one.
Howard Zinn. And they're just blazing in he's smoking weed.
Fuck yeah.
And in 1972, he starts working on the California Marijuana Initiative. It was the first to make the ballot to legalize weed.
This was 82, you said?
72.
72? Holy crap. That's a long fucking time ago. But that's amazing. So this was the first time in the country, I'm guessing, that somebody put forward a ballot initiative for medical cannabis.
This was for all cannabis.
Oh, okay, gotcha. This was just full decrim.
Yeah, basically. And legalization and like the treat it like tomatoes version of legalization.
Yeah.
Not the treat
a
it
little
like
bit of balsamic
plutonium.
vinegar.
A little salt, too. Really
Tobacco. Tobacco.
And during working on this campaign, he meets an activist couple called Michael and Michelle Aldrich, and they were working on the campaign together, and they gave him, faithfully, a pack of hemp rolling papers.
Whoa. Okay. And so this is not hemp rolling papers is not like a new thing, right? These have been going on forever.
Yeah, but this is the first time he literally said to them, you mean there's something you can do with cannabis besides smoke it?
Whoa. So this is about to explode his fucking view of cannabis, right? Because it is like, I remember learning that, like, myself and being like, somebody, said it in that voice. They were like, man, like, you can make biodegradable plastics, like, with hemp fibers, man. Like, we didn't have to make the garbage island in the Pacific, bro. It didn't have to exist. And you're like...
It's getting late, dude. Good sash.
Good sesh,
I get
bro.
you. Yeah. The food,
Yeah.
fuel, fiber.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn up the credence slowly.
The bong rattling bass. So the initiative only gets 72% of the vote, but
That's a lot. I mean,
Oh,
shit.
did I say 72%?
Yeah, wait,
It
I was like,
1972.
how was that not a win?
My mind went 2 tracks for a moment, and the incorrect one spoke.
You are forgiven. The context here is,
What I wanted to say is when he has this hemp rolling paper, this is literally the moment that the hempire begins to strike back.
Whoa! Oh my God, we are there, right? Because this is like a whole part of his activism and his sort of vision for the world is one that runs on hemp. The utilitarian qualities of hemp.
Yeah, so now he deep dives on hemp, and he discovers, like, for instance, the covered wagons made of canvas. What's the can in canvas?
It's cannabis. This is true, by the way. The word canvas is a derivative of the word cannabis because, in the ancient Middle East, they would use cannabis to make sails, right? To make rope and sails because there's no other fiber that's as durable or long-lasting or long in length, for that matter, that you can make like long, sturdy ropes out of and weave into a really effective sail. That shit is really, if you're sailing without cannabis, you're fucking up. You're going slow.
You're not on the high seas. Oh, I can't say I said it before.
Guys, I want us to give Bean a round of applause for that part. Give him a round of applause, guys.
Moving right along. Rudolph Diesel, his brother was Sour Diesel, originally designed engines to run on
hemp-based ethanol.
Fuck. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, the alternative fuel, the thing that the Model T was supposed to run on. And so I know we're going down a rabbit hole of Jack Herrera, sort of conspiracy. Jack Herrera, yeah, I know. I keep
Rhymes
saying
with
it wrong.
terror.
I love you two, by the way. You two are my favorite. I want you to know that.
And I love
That's part of
everybody.
the crowd, yeah. The whole show is just for you two, all right? But yeah, this is what we were supposed to be using, man. We didn't have to fucking put a hole in the ozone layer, man.
We are in the non-hemp timeline, but coming back. And noted Nazi sympathizer Henry Ford declared his intention to, quote, grow automobiles from the soil, and he actually made a prototype car where the car was made out of hemp and it ran on hemp.
All right, how many of you guys have heard about the car made of weed? Some of you at least, right? It's true! It's true. One of the first mass-produced automobiles was made entirely of weed. See, this is why we sound crazy.
Not all conspiracies are bad or wrong or dangerous.
Yeah, this one thing. Also, he invented the assembly line.
And he, a little too Nazi-friendly for me. Anyway, in 1981, so like every story that goes from the 70s to the 80s, he's at our hero, Jack Herrera, rhymes with terror, is at a rally protesting the inauguration of one Ronald Reagan.
Oh my God.
Where's our Goldwater fan?
So, yeah, where's he at? Where's the one guy who's like, woo, yeah, finally, some sense to the world. But yeah, okay, so, as we all know, this is a huge turning point for cannabis because the war on drugs is really about to ramp up even more than, what Nixon envisioned it could be. It's about to get fucking ideological. It's probably the worst fucking time to be a cannabis activist in the history of the entire world, I'm pretty sure.
And so at this rally, he is arrested under a seldom used provision of the literal Federal Sedition Act that makes it illegal to conduct political activity near a federal facility after dark because he was registering people to vote.
Oh my God.
The bar for sedition has been lowered.
Yeah. You guys,
or raised.
Yeah. Whichever it is. But yeah, apparently you can literally go into the Lincoln Memorial and shit in the man's mouth. And you still will not get in as much trouble as this motherfucker did, just signing people up to vote.
I pictured that one too clearly. I need to say.
I wanted you to.
So this is one of 34 times that Jack Herer is arrested for his weed activism, and it is the most fateful. After suffering police abuse via a nightstick jab to the kidneys, he's taken downtown and he's offered a deal to plead guilty and pay a $5 fine. What do you think he does?
Yeah. I mean, well, on the one hand,
I got 5 on it, Jack. I'll throw in.
But yeah, did he just pay the fine or did he take a stand right there and then?
He refused to give them $5.
Wow.
He didn't do anything wrong. And he was sentenced to 30 days inside the Federal Correctional Institution, Terminal Island off the coast of Long Beach.
What? Like a fucking Alcatraz? So he's in jail for 30? Okay, let's put this into context again. For registering people to vote in front of a federal building and refusing to pay a $5 fine, that would give him a criminal record. 30 days in jail.
Tell me what the following books have in common.
Okay.
And I'm going to say anybody can shout it. Nah, that's not fair to you, my friend. Don't shout it out.
Yeah, I don't know how to read.
Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. Mm-hmm. Conversations with Myself by Nelson Mandela. Justine by the Marquis de Sade. Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. What do those books have in common?
What do those books have in common? Is it about a person who's fucking completely crazy? No, I'm just on Don Quixote.
One, arguably two.
Yeah. No, with Don Quixote, I was like, maybe it's going to be people who are nuts. Wait, what is the common thread there? Does anybody know this? Wait, can you say the books again?
Don Quixote, Conversations with Myself by Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
Justine by the Marquis de Sade. Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau.
But the de Sade thing is fucking throwing me off. They're written in jail. Oh, they were all written in jail. Well done. Oops.
Check out the big brain on Brian.
I dropped this thing, sorry.
That's how
that's
the reveal
how epic
was.
that fucking guest was. It's amazing.
As was the book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes.
Oh. Okay, gotcha. So this is where he writes this epic fucking huge book that becomes canon if you are a cannabis person. And so were these ideas just floating around in his mind? I mean, 30 days, that's a tough deadline for an entire book.
I should say he started the book in prison. And as his wife Jenny said, he said he never would have written the book if he had not been imprisoned, because it was the only time he wasn't out blowing weed smoke in the cop's face and registering people to vote and running around with a hemp hat on Venice Beach. So he started...
And only a hemp hat.
It was the 70s.
Wow. Okay, so this is where it begins. So he's in there and he starts writing the untold history of cannabis. I mean, it's a tradition, obviously, that, you and I try to continue to this day. So he's putting it down on paper. And so, I mean, he's starting from the very beginning. I mean, he's talking about the ancient relevance of this plant, right?
Yeah, and as somebody, and both of us who do a lot of research for our show, research was a lot fucking harder.
Yeah, when you're in jail in 1970 something. Yeah.
And so the book, who has seen or has a copy of The Emperor Wears No Clothes? All right, so this book is a collection of news clips and old articles and what you might lovingly call rants and facts and charts and lists. It has a very jailhouse conspiracy theory book. It just all happens to be true.
Fuck yeah. And so this is where the whole William Randolph Hearst, Andrew Mellon, the collusion between the biggest newspaper magnate, the biggest oil magnate, and the Treasury Secretary of the United States to enact the prohibition of cannabis worldwide. It sounds fucking crazy, right? It's true. It all fucking happened. That's why weed became illegal everywhere in the entire world. Nobody knew it until Jack Herer told them.
Yeah, and so at the heart of this conspiracy, he finds that there was a 1916 USDA study that basically said, hey, there's a new machine that's coming online. It's going to make the harvesting and decording of hemp automatic, and that will make it the world's #1 cash crop. In 1938, Popular Mechanics, and this is in the book, this whole article, ran a headline, "New billion-dollar crop," and called hemp the most profitable and desirable crop that can be grown. This was good news for the planet, but as you said, really bad news for DuPont Chemical and William Randolph Hearst.
Yeah, so, all right, this is literally, we are at the precipice of a rabbit hole here, people. There is a lot to this, but I mean, just to shed a little bit of light onto it, right? So basically, the DuPont company was using petroleum to make things like synthetic fibers, like nylon, right? And they also happen to make a chemical which was used to bleach lumber pulp. Excuse me, lumber
He
pulp.
gets choked up.
Yeah.
He loves lumber pulp so much.
It's just so smooth and goopy in your palms. You squeeze it just feels so good. But so basically, the DuPont company was producing this chemical that was used by none other than William Randolph Hearst. Heard of him, know of him, right? Who also happened to be a newspaper magnate who owned the paper-producing lumber interest. So basically, all these people had a really good reason to challenge this resource that was very useful for making textiles, that was very useful for making paper, right? A renewable resource that has way less of an impact on the environment, but it's also ubiquitous. Anybody can grow this shit. Anybody can get in on it. It'll grow anywhere, right? So of course, the people with the reason to do it and the resources to spread misinformation told everybody that weed makes your girlfriend run away with a black guy. That's how it all started. No bullshit. They were like, "Are you a white guy?" I have some bad news for you. It's true. Look it up. See, again, sounds fucking crazy. It's true.
And so the book, of course, is named for the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, itself talking about this conspiracy of the people in power telling a big lie, everyone going along with it to keep their position, and it's a couple of textile dudes running a fucking scam. So it's very close to hemp.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Wait, who are the textile dudes we're talking about?
They sew the invisible clothes for the king.
Oh, I see. Okay,
that are
from
pretend
from
clothes.
the story. Okay, gotcha.
The other thing that Jack Herer, Rhymes with Terror, discovers is this film from 1942 made by the U.S. Department of Agriculture called
Hemp for Victory.
That basically espouses all the benefits of hemp as a crop.
Yes, this was put out by the federal government, by the farmer wing of the feds, basically saying, listen, we're in World War II, fuck this no hemp shit, this is serious, this is back when everybody hated Nazis, and because of the war, well, I guess it's not other than Nazis, because
Nazis
of the war,
love Nazis back then. It was crazy.
420 is Hitler's birthday. I mean, if you are a weed Nazi, it's got to be a great day.
I thought the Goldwater guy was gonna clap again.
But the war cuts off our supply of East Indian coarse fibers, so they make this film, Hemp for Victory, telling farmers you gotta grow 300,000 acres of hemp for the war effort, and then later they're like, nah, we never made that film.
Yeah, and so it was basically denied. This is like the fucking Roswell incident, man. It's like some real shit that happened. The government subsidizing weed farmers, encouraging them to do it post 1933. This is like post Ainslinger shit. But you know, Ronald Reagan won't tell you that shit.
No, so the government denies it, but Jack Herer, Rhymes with Terror, He finds an original print, and he finds searching through the government files, finds the documentation, original, verifying that this film exists. So, of course, he rents a stall on the Washington Mall right by the Smithsonian and projects 24 hours a loop of Hemp for Victory.
Wow! Oh my God, that's fucking amazing. Sinespia, eat your heart out. That's a fucking outdoor screening right there. Holy shit. And does this have any impact? Like, what are people saying in response to this? What's the government saying in response to this?
The government is just doing their narky government thing, to be frank. I mean, I'm sure there's a long FBI file somewhere, but I don't think they were, like, up at night. You know, the real revolution is already happening by the time they realize it. And in terms of what effect it's having, I'll just quickly say, back in the day, I used to work at iTimes when it was cool, and I wrote a thing called Freedom Fighter of the Month. Every month, I would talk to an activist who was doing this work, and I would always ask them, this is like for 10 years, what got you into being an activist? And there was only 3 answers. I got busted for weed, I read a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, or I got busted for weed and then somebody gave me a copy of a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes.
I swear, I knew that was the third option.
My weed brother from another mother.
Yeah, seriously, man. No, this was an incredibly impactful book. It's like, I guess it could be, still called like an underground book, right? Was this being published on like any sort of major distribution, or was this just like always a grassroots thing?
This is back when there were head shops in every town. This was underground shit, Underground and alternative publishing is something that's really at the heart of what we do. It's been a big part of both of our lives. And like, this is the OG era of that. Like, to sell 700,000 copies of a self-published book about a wild conspiracy is an incredible achievement.
Fuck yeah. Jack Hare rhymes with terror. Still, Independent did not make it onto the New York Times bestseller list that year.
That's because
bias.
Until they print the New York Times on hemp paper, I don't.
Yeah, that's fucking right. Fuck the New York Times. I mean, for a lot of things.
Not their podcast reviewer. Everybody else.
Yeah.
And the other way he really sells this book is he goes out on tour. He is got all these hemp acolytes. People are drawn to this guy. Not that it makes you better or worse, but he's like 6'3". He's a big burly guy. He's got a beard and a booming voice, and he's like telling you hemp is gonna save the world. And people are like living through Reagan America, and it just shakes them the fuck up. And they go all over. They're going to county fairs. They're going to dead shows and just like selling books and sowing seeds. And that's where all this generation of activism really comes from.
That is so fascinating. And, I think it's also important to reflect, and we've found artifacts like this, that at the time, there were so many books published by major publishing houses that were filled with lies about how cannabis is going to kill you. So, to find a book, imagine that that's all you know about. If you've ever read about weed, it's in one of those books, and you're, at the county fair, which is a lot like a dead show.
Depends on the county.
More livestock. But, yeah, and then this guy is like, oh, I've got this book, and it's called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. That's a fucking compelling title. It's mysterious. It's like the fucking Da Vinci Code, but with more substance. You know what I'm saying? But it it draws you in. I can totally see it. It's like using the power of propaganda or conspiracy theories for good. You know what I'm saying? I know that might feel kind of unfamiliar to everybody, but this is a good type of virality, a good type of spreading of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, and just as somebody who really wants to believe that books matter, that free expression matters, that art and creativity matters, this is a really clear example. We're smoking weed in a weed building.
We are.
Didn't win yet.
I want to remind everybody, We're smoking weed in a weed building right now.
And so now the really moment where he has been honored in his life by many, many, many people who told him, your book changed my life. He has been honored as a freedom fighter of the year by Normal and High Times. But the one that really sticks is that in 1994, legendary cannabis breeder Ben Dronker,
Here it comes.
who was also founder of the Hash, Marijuana, and Hemp Museum in Amsterdam, named a skunky sativa-dominant hybrid strain in the man's honor.
Yes, that's right. We are at the strain. Jack Hare rhymes with terror. Causes errors.
And
Smoking
also
up of it.
fixes them.
It fixes fucking everything. Fixes your entire life. But yeah, so, okay, this is interesting. Now, you and I are both East Coast lads. We were deprived of the magic of strain selection. None of you California kids. Anybody who's like, under 35 and from California, you're not. This is not going to make any sense to you. But you would just buy whatever weed was available to you.
We usually got two choices: take it or leave it.
I said,
I always took it.
you want this fucking weed? It's like, and you got to hang out with this asshole too.
Oh, you're recording your own music now. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You do the layers. You can layer it. Oh, you want to show me the layers?
This fucking guy, just show me the layers, man. Let's get
We
this
just lost
over
at
with.
least one and possibly two people.
But yeah, so essentially, my point is that, when I first smoked true Jack Hare, right, it was so interesting to me because, we all have our own descriptive words for it, right? That some of them stick, some of them don't. But to me, at the same time, it was like super fruity, but also it's like creamy. There is a weird creaminess to Jack Hare that makes it different than all other sativas, right? It doesn't like hit the back of your throat in the way that really sweet sativa-y terps do. It's fucking smooth, and it's a fantastic strain. Do you remember your first experience with it?
Yeah, I think it was in Amsterdam. I used to work on the Cannabis Cup when it was cool.
Let it out. Let the frustration out.
I usually soft play that one. Such
Fuck
a good
Vice
memory.
too.
I also,
Let's add that to the bit. Vice can suck my dick.
I also had the occasion to meet the man in Amsterdam.
Oh,
Jack.
wow.
It was quite an honor. This was long after the naming of the strain, which
Right.
won the 7th annual Cannabis Cup. It was called the Champagne of Strains. And what I love is this became like a meme that brought Jack Hare to people who may otherwise never have heard of him. And they find the book, they find the activism, they find the inspirational story through weed itself.
Yeah, and I think this is interesting, and it's like we haven't discussed it yet, but it's a very sticky name. Jack Hare, even butchered and mispronounced by me as Jack Herrera, very sticky name, right? There's just something about it that kind of like lasts. It makes me think of Bob Snodgrass. Doesn't that just sound like the guy who invented pipes? You know what I'm saying? Like of course that's his name. And this is there is a sort of a mystery to it. It sort of stands out. His name could have been Bob Smith. And then, I don't know, we probably wouldn't be calling the strain that, but...
I'm definitely not paying $75 an eighth for some Bob Smith.
Yeah. Bob Smith shit is fire, though.
Or anything.
Right, Bob? Bob Smith, everybody, right here in the fucking front row.
So actually,
Best weed since Jack Herrera.
I was in Spain once. And shooting a DVD about how to grow weed and going to farm, and everybody is, telling me about their plants, and this is Jacaré. And so finally I said to the one guy, ¿Sabes Jacaré es una hombre también, no es solamente una planta? Do you know that?
Una hombre magnifico.
Yeah, that's what he said. That is what he said.
Oh, wait, that's actually what
Yes,
he said.
that's what he said. I think I've told you that story.
It was in there. You know what? That had to be buried somewhere.
Parallel
Anyway.
creation.
Whoa, we really are mind melding or something. It happens. It starts to happen when we're in the same
Well,
room.
when you take the green pill, I mean, it does have some
Yeah.
side effects.
Yeah, join us. There will be green pills available to anyone on the way out.
All right, so we're getting close to the end of Jack Herrera's time on Earth. So let's have a celebratory smoke for his life before we wrap it up. Everybody who's got something to puff on, please puff on it. And so it is a beautiful end to his life. In 2009, he gave a rousing speech, the thing he was really most known for at the Hempstock Festival in Portland, went backstage, and he had a heart attack that would ultimately be the end of his life. But to go out that way, and, you know, I'll just give him the last words from that speech. He said, "You've got to be out of your mind not to smoke dope. It is the best thing the world has ever had."
Yeah! Jack Herrera! The fucking legend. And that's the spirit he really left with the world. Cannabis activism would truly not be what it is today if it wasn't for the legend Jack Herrera. Nor would cannabis genetics, you know what I mean? Like, he really left his mark in so many ways. Dan Herrera back there. Dan Herrera rhymes with terror. We're glad to have a piece of the legacy here in the house with us tonight, man. Much respect and love.
And if I can get one more pun in before we adjourn.
You know you can.
He certainly blazed a trail in cannabis history for us to follow, and we're very aware of that.
Yes, we are.
Can we get a hemp hemp hooray?
Hemp, hemp,
Hooray! Hemp hemp hooray! Hemp hemp hooray!
That was 2 weed puns, but this is cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for that story, Bean. It really was a special one, and I'm so glad we got to share it with all our friends in the house tonight. Guys, give it up for yourselves. Thank you so much for joining us on Great Moments in Weed History.
Yes, big thanks to Green Street for hosting us. High 90s for
Green
the
Street,
flower.
High 90s.
Podtones for
Pod
the
Tones.
rosin vapes.
Big Pete's Treats.
And those lovely mocktails.
Yes, the mocktails. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you. Jim. 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 Jim.